Minnesota story time. This commenter reminded me of another story about Minnesotan badassery. Most people are familiar with the famous outlaw, Jesse James. Members of Jesse James and Frank James's posse fluctuated from robbery to robbery and over the years, but in 1861 they joined forces with the Younger gang. Cole Younger and his two brothers were formerly the Confederate bushwhackers, but when the Civil War ended, they pivoted from being douchebags in the name of the Confederacy to douchebags in the name of personal profit. James' gang made a perfect alliance to start a reign of terror that lasted 15 years, until 1876, when they got the bright idea to stroll into the Minnesota town of Northfield and try to rob the bank. Now, the accounts of the story vary from source to source, but the facts are that 3 of them went into the bank while a couple stayed outside. And when they demanded that Joseph Lee Haywood, the cashier, open the safe, despite hitting him in the head with a pistol and holding a Bowie knife to his throat, he lied and told them he couldn't do it because it was on a time-release lock, which took some brass balls considering he knew the reputation of the gang that was robbing him. Some say it was the assistant cashier who was shot in the shoulder as he fled through the back door to raise the alarm. Some say the citizens just got suspicious because there was a couple dudes in dusters guarding the doors out front. Either way, the result was the same. The townsfolk said, "Grab your guns, we gotta head down to the bank to deposit some lead." So in response, the men guarding the door jumped on their horses and threatened that if the townspeople didn't leave, they were gonna be shot. The townsfolk were like, "Funny, we just came to tell you the same thing." And then they started shooting the fuckers. Forced James and the gang members inside the bank to go outside and join the fight, but not before Jesse shot Haywood in the head for his lack of cooperation. Townsfolk killed 2 of the gang members and wounded all of them, but unfortunately they killed one of the townspeople, Nicholas Gustafson, and 6 of them were able to make an escape, including Jesse. The people in Northfield were not done with him yet. This triggered one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. A little while later, all of the Younger brothers and a gang member, Charles Pitts, were found. Charles Pitts got gatted in the following gunfight, and all the Younger brothers were captured. And that was the end of the James Younger gang. Unfortunately, Jesse and Frank had split off prior to this and evaded capture, and over the next few years, they tried to rebuild their gang. But they damn sure never came back to Minnesota to rob a bank. But in 1881, karma finally caught up with Jesse, who at this point had joined forces with the Ford brothers. Side note, why is it always brothers? Couldn't some of them be original and do like uncle and nephew or something? Anyway, despite being Jesse's only trusted companions, the Ford brothers had conspired with the authorities to turn Jesse in. In exchange, they'd get a reward and amnesty. Robert Ford decided that was going to be a little too difficult and then just shot Jesse in the back of the head instead. But it still remains that the downfall of one of the most notorious outlaw gangs in history happened because they decided to go ask the citizens of a little Minnesota town what fuck around and find out really means.